Greetings, wondrous ones. Darren Hall here with you, and I'm here with your new moon insights. It has been a while since I've done this. I used to do these pretty much on the regular on the new moon, and I love doing that. I love the new moon transits. It's really nice to hook into astrology, this beautiful ancient science of the mystical, of the archetypes, and it's really surging now in the public interest, along with many mystical and spiritual arts, and wonderfully so. You know, people are really realizing that we are imprinted and we are connected to a cosmic sense of consciousness, and it's time to address that. It's time to really connect back to our sense of multidimensionality. Now, the new moon represents the time when the moon is farthest from the earth, so it gives us this space actually for our imagination to bloom forward, where the linear thinking mind isn't so prominent, and it's a great time in that space to plant what I call psychic gardening, our intentions, and then to water them with our awareness and our attention, which is the greatest form of our generosity. And today is a very powerful new moon. We entered into the new moon in Taurus this morning, early mornings, and here in Toronto we had a brilliant thunderstorm with lots of lightning and electricity, which is very fitting because this new moon in Taurus represents the planet Uranus, which is a very electrical planet moving in to the sign of Taurus for the next 7 years. And that's major, because anytime Uranus changes signs, a big shift occurs. Uranus is the revolutionary. It rules over Aquarius. So whenever Uranus makes a shift, there's going to be some kind of revolutionary fervor that's kickstarted on the planet, and some kind of rebelliousness, which can be very virtuous and noble when it's aligned to a virtuous purpose. But of course, with things like the French Revolution, we can see how that rebellious fervor can really turn in on itself. The kind of thing we're seeing in America right now with this kind of civil war that keeps being prodded by the media, Democrats versus Republicans, and people fighting on college campuses and stuff, all that kind of nonsense. It's time for us really to unify like never before. And that's part of what this shift is. And Uranus is going to be in Taurus for the next 7 years. So this is basically bringing this revolutionary Aquarian energy into one of the most sturdy and stable earth signs. And let's just take a moment, if you want, to just imagine a bull, the energy of a bull, which is Taurus. Now, bulls, if you've ever seen them grazing in the fields, are very peaceful animals, very beautiful, loving. And Taurus is also ruled over by the planet Venus, which is the goddess of love and beauty. So bulls, that kind of bull energy, even though it can be very fierce, and that's the other side of the bull, if you really prod and really kind of provoke the bull, it can, boom, go to 100 kilometers an hour into its rage very quickly. And that's kind of the energy that we're moving into. And there's a lot of earth changes happening right now. Much love goes out to Hawaii. The beautiful sacred islands of Hawaii are really dealing with a lot of quaking and shaking energy. And that's really a reflection of what's going on in a lot of our lives. A lot of people are dealing with their lives feeling like this upheaval, this quaking, shaking that's happening. I know I've been through a lot of that, especially since the full moon in Scorpio that just passed. And Taurus and Uranus are really trying to shake us awake to this new paradigm of the earth, of really realizing that the way that we're really going to unify on this planet is not going to be a political thing. It's going to be a spiritual movement, and that spiritual movement is going to be an eco-spiritual movement. That's right, ecology and spirituality merging and intersecting together. Because the one challenge and adversity that all human beings are facing, no matter what race, religion, creed, culture you are, we are all dealing with the fact that we cannot ignore that the earth is going through significant changes right now. A lot of them are caused by the way humanity has been acting and how we've been exploiting the earth and exploiting the feminine. I'll get into that because that's a huge transit that's going on right now. And we need to realize that this is no longer something that can go on. And in the next 7 years, with these great shifts, Uranus in this earth sign, we're going to see the earth really starting to shake and quake like never before, because she wants to get our attention. And unfortunately, we haven't been learning through opportunity, and we're going to have to learn through necessity. And it's a bit of a scary transition in the sense that there's a lot of lives that are tenuous right now. You think of the third world and the infrastructure there and how it's It's not very strong to deal with climate change. And a lot of the first world exploitative energies have really put this tremendous imbalanced problem in the ecology of the planet. So we're going to have to really deal with that, and it's going to require our hearts to get very expansive, for the sacred warrior archetype to get online as well. So Uranus is also very connected to insights, revelations. It's very much like the higher mind. And its connection to Taurus, Taurus is really about sensuality and feeling. So one of the big things that's coming forward right now is that we need to connect to Mother Earth, not with inconvenient truths anymore and thinking about rationalism and logic and figures and doomsaying kind of ideas. We need to feel Mother Earth's pain. We really need to feel her pain, her agony in our own soul, because we are one with her. And we need to realize, just like the bull that's brought into this city to be in the bullfighting arena, you see what happens with bulls in those arenas. They go crazy. But when the bull is actually in nature, its peaceful, natural setting, it does find serenity. And this is the energy within all of us, because all of these archetypes, all of these signs are a part of us. We are all connected to the 12 phases of the zodiac. It's imprinted all of us. So that Taurian energy in us is really calling us to be in nature. And we need to get in nature not simply just to take a reprieve from our busy lives, although that is very important, but because we need to re-establish our feeling centers, realize that we are connected to Mother Earth, and that when you get to nature, and a lot of my friends here in Toronto, we've been doing this, we've been getting out into nature, and we've been doing very intentional work, like meditating in nature, doing qigong, doing yoga, hugging trees, connecting to waters, going into cold ice dips and such. And in that way, you start to open up these mystical visions. You start to feel this regeneration. It's absolutely profound. So I really invite you, to gather your community, gather your friends, set an intentional day to drive out, to go out to community, grab your sage, grab your crystal bowls, grab your musical instruments, whatever you need, and spend that day with the intention of romancing Mother Earth. Just love her through all these beautiful practices. Amplify the sensuality of your body. Realize that our nature is very beautiful and primal. We have all these multi-dimensional ways that we can connect. When you hug a tree and you meditate towards a tree, there's profound visionary experiences that can happen. I remember when I used to work with the First Nations peoples on their land, we would do meditations with the trees, and you would have these profound revelations as if the trees were speaking to you. And then I brought that back to Toronto, and we did workshops that I called Tree Talk, where we'd go out to the park and everyone would pick a tree, and you'd hug a tree and you'd open up a line of communication. And incredible epiphanies would happen and insights to people. So that's something that I really invite you to do. It is really time for us to take the environmental crisis into our hearts and really start to feel about it instead of just thinking about it. And realizing that with Taurus as well, sound and music are huge. I have Taurus in my first house. I'm Taurus rising. And that's where a lot of my artistic and love and beauty, that Venus kind of connection comes. And so this is also time for us to really use music and sound, to enjoy ourselves as well, because Taurus is about pleasure and joy. And, through all the shakings that are going on the planet, that may seem like kind of paradoxical insights, but this is also a new moon where we have to take a kind of break and give ourselves a break within all the intensities that are happening, to really just relax and give ourselves some pleasure and give ourselves a pause to really connect. And that's why going to nature can be the perfect thing to do as we move into these intense shifts. Now, another thing I want to talk about is the sacred warrior and the healing of the masculine. So the last new moon, we went through another powerful transit. We moved from Chiron, moving into the wounded healer. Chiron moved into Aries for the next 7 years, and that is all about the masculine, which is Aries, the warrior, moving into the sacred and spiritual warrior. And this all connects to this Taurian, Uranian kind of transit as well, because if we're really going to protect the earth, the masculine within us all that has been terribly imbalanced by patriarchy needs to step up to the plate and needs to honor the earth. It needs to protect the earth full-fledged, passionately. And you can think of this microcosmically, how this is working as well in our culture. We have seen the Kali rage, the goddess of destruction. That archetype has been moving through the women of our planet. They have been speaking very loudly since the Me Too campaign about men. Wake up to the abuses, to the way that we've been acting very unconsciously. Now there's responsibility there for men to take, but men also have to realize that impersonally, patriarchy has been duping them. It's been manipulating them. You think about things like pornography, online porn, and the way that women, and men for that matter, how we're all being sexualized by the media. We have never before been so inundated by sexualized images. It's absolutely blowing our nervous system out of whack. And that's why a lot of men are turning to the no-fap movement, spending 90 days resetting, no masturbation, no orgasms. You can still have sex and be sensuous, but really trying to reset their neurology and breaking the demon that is online pornography addiction, which is really profound work. And this is also about Kali and Kalki. And Kalki is the male warrior version of Kali, and it is the male embodiment of female rage. Really profound and complex. And I'll be sharing an article linking below of one of my favorite writers, John Lamlash, who wrote a very powerful essay on Kalki and this archetype. And this is a time in Aquarius and Uranus where new archetypes are coming into our vicinity. These powerful organizing principles of consciousness. And one of those archetypes is the sacred warrior, the spiritual warrior. And Kalki is really asking men to really take and receive that rage that women are feeling and figure out how that connects to their own feminine within themselves, because we all have an inner feminine. And I always think about myths I really connect to on this are things like King Arthur. King Arthur, King Arthur was my first hero. When I started reading about King Arthur and the Holy Grail, I was obsessed with it. I was obsessed with the nobility of the knights. And if you look at the legend of King Arthur actually loses his sword Excalibur. And Excalibur was the sword that anointed him the king. But you find with these beautiful, complex ancient stories, there's lots of nuances that happen. At some point, King Arthur loses his sword. And there's many different reasons why he loses his sword, but it has to do with the fact that in some way he's clumsy or he's viceful and he falls out of balance. And in the repercussion is he loses his sword, which is symbolic of his king energy. If you remember in the legend, the way he gets his sword back is he gets it from the Lady of the Lake, this kind of mythic, elemental, fairy kind of queen figure. We never see her face, but he goes to the sacred lake and he's meditating there, he's praying before there, and this female hand rises from the lake. And you can see images online. It's very powerful to actually Google that and look at those images. And this female hand raises up Excalibur to then give it back to King Arthur when she deems him fit enough to hold this sword for truly might for right. And that's what's being asked of men right now. We are being asked to go through an initiation to prove to the feminine, to prove to women, to prove to the goddess that we can take this powerful, heroic, masculine, aggressive energy that has been really distorted on our planet and been turned and involuted on top of it into itself to be self-destructive, and men are falling into these downward spirals of self-destruction. We need to break those shackles and really start to realize that this aggressive yang energy, which a lot of men are actually terrified of, we need to find ways to run it along activated and noble tracks in our lives. That's why martial arts are really important. Yoga, any disciplines for men that really get them into that fiery yang energy and point it towards a noble pursuit rather than pointing towards porn addiction or alcoholism or other abusive behaviors. Men really have more yang energy than women, and that needs to be recognized. We need to look at the fact that we are biologically gendered in a way. It's also culturally, but it's both, and we need to realize that men have more testosterone than women. That's the hormone that's very connected to that yang energy. Men have a responsibility to deal with that. And our culture has gotten rid of rites of initiation and rites of passage for men, which is really traditional culture's understanding that men had to go through this profound change when puberty hit and all this yang energy would just go poof, full power. And if men are not really trained and conditioned on how to deal with that energy, it can become tremendously destructive. But when men really figure out how to use that energy for right, how to protect the feminine within themselves and use it to protect the feminine in the world and the environment, boy, oh boy, we could see momentous changes happening very quick. Because if you think about the orders in this world, about the police states, about the governments in this world, a lot of it is enforced by armies of men. Security and police officers that are, by large, the majority of them are men. And they're defending this really corrupt oligarchic government. If they were to step down and turn their backs on those corrupt leaders and say, no, we're going to fight and protect something very noble, you would see changes happen very fast on the planet. And I do believe that is actually happening as I speak. These changes are starting to happen. But it's up for all men to really take that on. Women have been just holding the mantle of change and transformation for decades now. And men have been lackadaisical. It's time for us to keep a pace with women and really help to stand with them as we lead this charge, this global charge, to really take back the earth and rebirth an earth that is about sacred ecology, about justice for all, and really protecting the environment. And I come to an interesting image on that. One of my favorite movies is Braveheart. And William Wallace, in my mind, is a great mythic personification and a real personification of the Kalki warrior. Because if you remember in The Legend of William Wallace, which was Hollywoodized, but the movie, I think Mel Gibson did a good job. In that movie, William Wallace doesn't join the Scottish rebellion against the Brits until his wife is killed, until the greatest symbol of the feminine in his life is killed. And when she is killed, it lights a fire under his ass that is indomitable. And you actually witness that a lot of the Scottish rebellion was actually because of the decree of the English tyranny to have rights over the Scottish brides on their first night of marriage. That was the decree, that when a Scottish couple got married, the English monarch of that locality, that municipality, the lord, whatever we want to call it, he had rights to have sex with a woman on her wedding night. Think about that. That is crazy. And that actually was something that happened on this planet. And that is what lit a fire under all these Scottish men to protect their women and to protect the feminine, which the women represented, because a lot of these Scots were connected to both Christian and also pagan traditions where women were leaders. And it was very important that women held that ritual space. And when they were getting desecrated in that way, the men really stepped up to the plate. And just another thing I wanted to talk about, this whole thing with pornography and stuff, a lot of us are feeling victimized by it. I'm going through my own swells with it. I've been really trying to push back against it and healing my own life. I'm going to share a lot more about that very soon in the future too. I want to launch a few initiatives to help men and support that. And, years ago, I was working with these First Nations, this council and this elder, this Mohawk elder, and she told us that at a certain point in our training with them to be spiritual warriors that we would get tested, and that it was a sign that we were actually on the path when we would get tested by the darkness and the demonic realm. And literally that night, I was in my bed in the dream world, and I was literally, all of a sudden, there was this demonic entity, this female demonic kind of spider creature that was literally having sex with me on top of me and strangling me to death with her hands. And the elder had said, when these demons attack, you call on the higher forces of Creator and the divinity, which we are all in continuum with. And the minute I did that, boom, this demon was gone. These things are real. These things are happening in an astral, interdimensional level. We are really, really under threat. And as things intensify on our planet, it's really important that we up our spiritual game to keep and cleanse our spiritual house, to cleanse our hearts. And for men, there's a lot of healing that has to do with sexuality on that. Now, I'll be sharing a lot more about that in the future, because that's something that I think a lot of men are dealing with, and a lot of men don't even understand how deep that goes and how deep those energies and those addictions and those patterns, even as innocent as they might seem, are really weakening this heroic consciousness in men that really needs to come online right now. Anyways, I'm going to leave it at that. Happy new moon in Taurus to you all. If you're free tonight, come and join me. There's still spots available for the new moon vibes, cacao ceremony, and crystal bowl sound bath that's happening at Mermaid's Den. I'm bringing this back. Hopefully I'll be starting again monthly. We'll see. Lots of different projects going on. And look out in June. I'm going to be soon finally announcing details about my new album, Songs of Source, which I really want it to be like one of the great masterpieces of crystal bowl and shamanic singing music. That'll be coming out in June. So look for that. Lots of updates coming up. I'm going to be launching my new website as well in the next couple days with all of those details. So look out for that. So, tonight, make sure you do something to get in touch with love and beauty. Tonight, take a night off, pleasure yourself in whatever way with a warm bath, some incense, meditation, cuddling with your beloved. Taurus, as intense as this shift is, it's really also asking us to take a night to really connect to love and beauty, connect to those Venus vibes. So on that note, infinite love, infinite glory to you. Stay multidimensional. Keep re-enchanting the world.